Time waits for no one as we continue here. I have gotten back on the ship. We are sailing at a good clip. We are sailing fast because the opportunity in front of us will not last forever. Artist Journal, July 1st, 2024. Sailing full steam ahead. Flags waving behind us. Pirate flag and all. Welcome back. My name's Adrian Pocobelli. Doing what I can in the time that is allotted to me. And truly, putting this show together, like taking a break as I did and then putting it together, it's incredible how much is actually required here. This, okay, so a couple of show notes. This is going to be kind of like the second of basically it's the second catch-up show. The Instagram bookmarks I haven't even touched, and there's like 100 of them at least, I'm sure, and I'll probably choose like 20 or whatever. But all to say, we're almost caught up here. This is another big show. I am determined, as I keep saying, to streamline and make this show shorter for myself as much as for anything. I also, we've gone through this many times before. So that is the first thing. So kind of a second catch-up show. Again, the Instagram will probably come next show, and then we'll basically be caught up after a week. So final second show note, going to Spain tomorrow. Final vacation here for a few weeks, for about a month. And so then things will be back to normal. And so a week from Wednesday, this will be the last show until a week from Wednesday, and then should be a normal schedule, hopefully shorter shows, and then back to kind of a bit of normalcy as far as this show is concerned. So with that, look at this. Look at this work. Look at this beautiful work. I think it's a big collaboration. And it sure seems to have what used to be Graphica PNG's signature kind of all over it. That is interestingly 100%, which also seems to suggest that perhaps it's AI, because sometimes those renders can be smaller than your typical digital artwork. Let me just show you. So it's Cereza Galkin making JPEGs, which again, I think this is the artist formerly known as Graphica.png. I'm not positive on that, though, so that could be totally wrong. What we do know is it's Cereza Galkin, and this is the 25 titles, private contract, Transient Labs, reserved auction via Foundation, 8 tandem pieces together with Petra Voice, Seba Sistero, Irina Euphoreva, Marina Amadova, and Eto Zekis. So not exactly sure how this all works, but it seems to be a combination of a whole bunch of artist styles, which is kind of the magic here. Because if we go back, I mean, what really kind of jumps out at me are the hard contrasts. First of all, it just kind of looks like art, doesn't it? It looks really original, and it's really just got that kind of je ne sais quoi, I know not what, that when you're in the gallery, and it looks like it belongs in a gallery. I'm kind of back to that whole thing. I mean, it looks like it's just like something I would see in a gallery that doesn't exist. A museum, the museum in my mind, maybe yours too. So just really cool work. Again, and it's almost like what makes it art again. It's the stuff that doesn't make sense. In other words, the irrational aspects of this, the what is going on-ness of it, which is creating these wonderful, but still works. And it's almost like it's irrational, but it's still beautiful. So that goes, what is this? I guess you'd call it poetry. We're back to that word here. It's irrational, but it's still beautiful. So it's something. Right? And when I say irrational, I see a line drawing, seemingly, on top of what looks like kind of a AI-looking photo or a textured photo. Let's call it a grainy photo, with what looks like to me like AI brushstrokes. Right? So do you know what this is? Other than calling it art, then you'd just say it is a hodgepodge of image. Right? But in fact, it is so much more than that. And you gotta love this stuff on the right here. And so just beautiful. And, and we haven't even really looked at the iconography, which is this kind of angel with the wings, interestingly, kind of photographic, like AI perhaps, wings with drawn horns. Right, so everything everywhere on this one. And here, looking like, echoes of Cy Twombly, right? Again, speaking of poetry, of course, Cy Twombly, it's important to remember, loved quoting the Greeks in his works, interestingly. Very, very, very interestingly. It feels like I haven't read a ton. I've looked at a few Cy Twombly books when I was in art school. And for those that don't know, let me quickly bring up Cy Twombly here. Then we're going to go to other works in this show. But in case you don't know, I was saying I haven't read a ton of Cy Twombly about Cy Twombly, but I'm kind of curious. I was going to say maybe it's a little underplayed, the Greek aspect in Cy Twombly's work, although I'm sure many people have discussed it and make quite a huge amount about it. So, of course, many of us are familiar with, say, these works here. I think I remember watching an interview with Larry Gagosian, famous art collector and gallerist, probably top 3 there, probably the most famous, though. And I remember him having a story, and I think it was for these works here, or works that were similar, where he showed up at Cy Twombly's studio. There's going to be a show, I think, in the next couple of weeks, and it wasn't really working, or somebody wasn't happy, either Larry or Cy, one of the two, is probably Cy Twombly, that wasn't happy with the works, and so redid the show in 2 days. And so these kind of works here, they didn't necessarily take a huge amount of time, which is a hugely interesting kind of thing, because we've seen these debates on X, like the amount of time spent and how does that correlate to the value? And really the time spent you should be thinking about, I would argue, is the time that goes up until that work is made. That time is far more important than the actual execution of the work. Right? Picasso was making a painting a day for maybe 30 years, maybe roughly 30 to 1960, maybe more, just kind of guesstimating off the top of my head. So does that make it worth less? Right? So not to get off topic here, kind of have a bit of a Cy Twombly kind of feel here as you look at this, and then we go back to this untitled show, Cereza and Friends. Here is that work again. You see these, what looks like random mark making, kind of, tip of the hat to abstraction here, with representation, with photography. Let's just look at the description and then we'll continue. Making art feels like gardening imaginary flowers. It grows, blooms, and decays, yet with hope of a memory to stay. And this is on Ethereum. And this is a PNG. Love is the title of the work. Here are more works. So look at how good these look. Interesting titles here, and I actually brought up a few of these. I'm bringing up a couple more because my internet is playing along nicely here, but a pretty cool looking series. Overall, again, it works. Interestingly, kind of to a certain degree, making it look easy, combining all of these, for lack of a better term, mediums. You have photography combined with illustration, combined with abstraction. And I'm not sure, if I had to guess, and it really is a guess, this is probably using combine, but maybe not just combine, because again, if this is Graphica.png, so again, just going from my journal here, this is not a news show. If this is Graphica.png, Graphica often would use collage, AI, and I think digital painting, at least collage and AI. We got a note very early on, if memory serves, on what they were up to. And so here we see kind of similar combinations. This kind of looks, rather than just combining though in Midjourney, where you can just add images and use I can't even remember what it's called anymore, maybe the combine or mix or whatever it's called, the prompt, and it'll start making mixes for you. A very important prompt, if you don't know it. and worth doing if you've never dabbled in AI. By the way, take your old work and then start blending it together and see what you get. It's quite interesting, and it's one of the most, I think it's called Blend, if I remember right. This doesn't look like Blend, though. This looks more like collage mixed, but maybe eventually turned, like this looks like a big, this looks like a process, is what this looks like. And the process looks like perhaps collage or mixed with AI, but I'm not sure. Quite powerful. Let's let this one load up. Quite a few just beautiful works, and again, could go in the show beside Cy Twombly there. Like there is like echoes of Twombly in these just kind of random colored marks, which are so beautiful and poetic, right? And there is Cy Twombly in his works, often quoting Homer, right? Interestingly. Yeah, so here we are. So quite beautiful, these works here. The color, the very subtle color. The painterliness here. You see it's kind of slightly darker gray down here. Like it looks painted. Even though this is digital art, you see it here. I mean, quite brilliantly. Quite brilliant, all of the painterliness. But this doesn't look like a real painting in the sense of a physical. It does look like a digital painting. It does not look like a physical painting, even though it has echoes, but it echoes those traits that we find poetic in physical painting, right? We see it here. And, if you saw a physical painting of this, quality, I think you would definitely do a double take and go, who on earth did this? Here's another one. So quite powerful, as you see here. And again, just this kind of beautiful, seemingly random mark making, poetic mark making with what looks like, and again, this white, almost this white on white or off white painted on the illustration here. Again, and the illustration almost looking cut out, but, with these beautiful marks like you see there. Really fantastic work by Cereza, Gelkin, and friends. Titanium Morphophallus. Just interesting titles, too. Which makes you think this was... Did we look at this one? I think we looked at this one. This looks like a Seba Sestero plane here, like a surreal plane. And we've looked at a lot of Seba's work and who was listed in that group. So just really, really impressive. Interesting works here. Beautiful, I guess you'd call it collaboration, or at least the mixing of works, jump. And again, I want to bring up what the sky looks like here. Look at this awesomely kind of painterly sky. And then with all of these different kinds of marks, this almost looks 3D here. This is flat, and somehow everything cohering. It looks like a runway with this massive thing on top. Here's another one. And so just very, very, very interesting works. We can't go through all of them, but I encourage you to look at it. And again, look at the painterliness within the illustrations here, the beautiful outline, but then here filled in. It's kind of like there's kind of a non-finito aspect to it, kind of a purposely unfinished aspect. Again, more very poetic work. Again, I want to say here, and this seems vaguely familiar, even this work. Maybe I saw it by one of those artists. Just really powerful in the contrast of this kind of black and white with the color photograph in the background, the illustration, but painterly. Very just impressive stuff. Even the word bubble here. Again, looks like painterly art, right? So very, very cool. Nice little mountain in the background. Heartbreaker. Again, very just poetic work. That is on Foundation. So congrats to all those artists for their incredible series there. Retro Manny. Retro Manny is coming up on Wednesday. So I will be flying Tuesday night, and then Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. New York time, or 3:30 in European Central Time. We'll have Retro Manny on digital art and video games and all things retro man, and more. So come join us. The spaces are awesome, and they continue. So thrilled about that, and getting some tweets here, awesome retweets. I just loaded that up. Retromania, question to end the day. Are we still... So just, if you don't know Retromania's work, again, kind of combining... a lot of people take video game elements and then kind of incorporate it into art. It's almost like Retromania is incorporating art and putting it into video games. Like there's kind of a heavier video game component. So we're going to find out everything that's going on here. Kind of an interesting kind of question, though, that it brings up as you look at this, the very end where you see this kind of glitchy thing. Let's see, just let it go. Here it comes, here it comes, here it comes, there. It makes you, here's an idea that Retromania is provoking here is, what if you had just regular video games that were much more arty? I mean, this seems to be kind of paving the way to a certain degree of that kind of thing. I mean, right? Kind of incorporating more art, capital A art, into video games. I mean, it's an interesting question. So maybe I'll ask Retromania about that. And here is Retromania on Object. You see all of the video game kind of iconography, the 3D ships. So really building something here. There's nothing like persistence and consistency. There's the comic book. So there's the keyboards. Awesome. Tezos tones. That is cool. So just a huge output here with a very specific theme. So just super cool. So looking forward to that. And a big shout out and thank you. We actually planned the space before this happened. A week or two before this happened. Retromania joined me in celebrating. This happened while I was in Brazil. I just wanted to give a thank you to everybody who did this. Got a couple of works here. Join me in celebrating International Pocobelli Appreciation Day. Can't imagine this space without you. Well, thank you hugely, and it was really nice to hear, especially after I hadn't put out for a couple of weeks a show. It's just nice, very nice. So thank you, Retromania. Thank you, Rada, digging up this Wasteman Goldminovich work. Happy Pocobelli Appreciation, and Ile. Thank you for doing this. So just beautiful works here, and just another, for those outside looking in. Just really cool work here, doing processes on processes. But for those looking in, that's how fun it is out here. You see how just kind of cool and warm and fun this community is. So just more reasons to be bullish. And this was hilarious. Mary Migraine, I told you we were going to watch the Pocobelli show, then you can leave. So hilarious, hilarious, hilarious. I enjoyed sending these to my friends. I mean, it was just kind of... Yeah, it was just hilarious in Brazil there. And also, thank you everybody who minted this. This work here for this show called Minimalism. I'm going to bring it up here for you. Rannick Steer put on the show. She curated it. She did an awesome job as I'll show you. And just thank you, 19 mints here on base. It was the first time, actually, I actually managed to put something on base. So thank you for asking, and thank you everybody who collected. I'd been kind of holding on to that work for a while, just waiting for the right place for it, and found it in a minimal artwork show. And look at how beautiful this Françoise Gamma is. It's a very cool show. There are still works available, so go check it out. Look at that. Kikilo, Dan Control, Jose Gasparian. I discovered some artists here. It's just a really nice show. So thrilled to be a part of it. I think we looked at that one on a show. And so by Kiro, just beautiful work. So check that out also on Foundation. How are we doing here? Okay, let's speed up. Comment/show. Cider. Hey, Goat, thank you for the appearance once again. Those little textures are close-ups of a work I'll be posting this weekend. Have a nice one, brother. Okay, awesome. And I think I brought up the work, and it's actually doing really well. It's at auction now. It had 0.42 as a opening bid, and it's at something like 0.69. So it's doing quite well, which, as many of you know, that's like at least, $2,200. So Cider still killing it. Still killing it. Very impressive in this market to be making those kind of sales. Dima Karlov. Adrian is back. Thank you, Dima. Awesome. Gravitopia. Hey, Adrian, did you like Brazil? What did you do that was cool? I really liked the video. Congrats. Thank you, Gravitopia. I'd say the highlights of the trip in Brazil, flew into first Sao Paulo and then took another plane to Fortaleza. Sao Paulo at night is unbelievable from the sky. It felt like a science fiction film. But even compared to like European cities, I mean, it's just ginormous, Sao Paulo. I just was in the airport. I went to Fortaleza and then took a taxi over to Paracuru and what was the other? Cumbuco afterwards. And yeah, the highlights were really, I have a friend that's working for a dune buggy company there. And so going through the dunes and also on the beach, they have special cars that you can use on the road there. It's awesome. You can take your dune buggy on the road. Some people will buy it instead of a car. It's another world there. So I absolutely love that. I mean, I want to go back. And once you go once, it's a lot easier just in your mind. That's like that neural pathway has been created now. So it's not like some huge jump in my mind to go back to Brazil. So especially in the winter here, because the temperature, 31 degrees Celsius, like basically all year in Paracuru. So yeah, so that was awesome. So thank you for asking. It was a really interesting trip, 10 days there after Canada. Let's continue. Comments on last show on X. Hi, Hanny. Great to hear from you. Andre Oliveira. Cibola, thank you for your support as well. Brain Dead, the ship won't leave without you, Adrian. Welcome back. Appreciate that. I managed to get back on. Thank you very much, Brain Dead. An awesome piece. Ariel, welcome back. Thank you. KF, really nice selection of Zwozo works today. Indeed. We're going to see another one. I managed to pick it up. Zwozo. I mean, really, just unbelievable. Floor, thank you for the mention, Adrian, and also for the collective drop on Foundation for the Culture. You bet. Yeah, that's a massive show that you can see in last episode. If you missed it, Trippy Collector, someone throw Poco a Life Vest. Thank you. Hilarious. And there's David Hasselhoff. Oh, no, that's someone else. Coming in for the rescue from Baywatch, hilariously. No Hygiene, awesome to hear from you. We have a beautiful work by you today. Lily Illo, also great to hear from you. Thank you for the comment, and we have also some beautiful works by you as well. Yoao Salazar, who had the beautiful plasticine work last show near the end. Human Boy, the space might be a bit silly at the moment, but all feels right watching a new show. Happy my work from the group show for the culture snuck in by chance. First group show I've been invited to, so I was very excited to participate. Great to have you back. Unbelievably, Human Boy, who has been now almost at 10,000 followers, really crafting, like, out with his bare hands, a following. It's really awesome, and it's amazing that Human Boy is only now the first group show invited to. So congrats to you on that, Human Boy, and keep up the great work. Again, so I think just for those that don't know, like, we'll look in a second. I'll just open this now. Human Boy, like, if you look, has like over 1 million views on a recent artwork there. We'll look, it might even be 2. We'll look. I mean, think about that. When you look at what Elon Musk is getting on a tweet, last I looked, it was like 35 million. Not bad. Not bad at all. Macbeth, that's Ozo work. Wow. I too thought WTF. So I collected a few. Awesome. Thank you for sharing new artists for me to find. Absolutely a pleasure, and glad you enjoy it too. Uxine, awesome to hear from you. We got some beautiful, hilarious debate work from Uxine. Also a great Amazon piece. Ilya Barabin, yo, awesome to hear from you. And Denjin K, thanks for the feature. Actually, we have more from You're Welcome, Denjin, and we have another piece from Ilya in the physical art section. And just to, I think it's this one, 1.5 million views on this. May 16th, 13,000 retweets. So Human Boy really building every day, hustling, truly hustling here. So just, pretty impressive. So yeah. So it continues with Human Boy. Again, 1.5 million views. Who got 2.8 isometric trick? This got 2.8 million views. That is unbelievable. It's pretty interesting. Like, how many followers does this person have? 17.6. Like, I mean, you have one viral image, you could get like 10,000 followers on X. I mean, that's almost a business, right? I mean, look at Popple. Remember when he got like 4 million? That was unbelievable. And Popple went from like 14,000 to like 60. So I haven't looked recently. Anyways, let's quickly look here at the community. Thank you, everybody, for posting. Green Cross, awesome to hear from you. Good morning, Adrian. And so here it is, kind of like a Petsky ASCII GIF of a heart. Very cool ASCII heart. Owner of an ASCII heart. Hilarious. Lejo X, thank you for posting. Very original illustration here and a little bit of 3D. Interesting combination. Human Boy, thank you for posting. It's great just to have people, such a huge variety of great artists here posting. Going to burn the extras on Monday, so Skull Takes, last chance to get, I guess today's Monday, so you may still have time there. 69 Ghosts, kind of an AI 3D work. So all sorts of wild stuff, and also a work by 69 Ghosts. Look at this. Cool kind of 2D pixel art-esque work. And here, Error Pleasures. So just very interesting pieces here. Kind of a nun with kind of a GIF. Lejo X, some more interesting stamp-like works here. And then Leon Montana also. Nice kind of Greek references. What do they call it? The discus thrower, maybe? Interesting combination. And Green Cross, another almost like an airplane window there. So just a ton. Look at this. Interesting piece here too. This is Te. And Rosetio we saw last show, and so awesome. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Just some comments here. August Ground, always thoughtful. The unexpected shock of a sale. It's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful feeling to a certain degree, regardless of the actual amount. The fact that someone reached out for the piece, that they coveted something you created, is already a potent proposition or success. And don't get me wrong, money is fine too. Exactly. This is just a very, I think, important thing to remember here. Again, ask people, ask your friends in the Berlin art scene, how many works have they sold this year? Okay, and then ask your friends, say, on the digital art scene, how many works they sold this year. And you might be, so always, there's a lot to be grateful for out here, and August seems to be highlighting that in his own way. Also, couldn't agree more with what Limbo is saying here. Creativity-wise, the space has never been stronger. I 1,000,000% agree. Money market is one thing. The creativity, just like what we saw at the opener. Just like we see with Zozo. And what's interesting is as the space exists for longer and longer, the artists are getting better and better and better. And, to quote, August Ground, that's becoming a potent proposition. To see so many artists continuing to evolve and develop here, it's pretty wild. It's important to remember this. Now, creation demands investment and strategy from artists, and there aren't too many shortcuts to quick financial gains as in the past, art-wise. Yeah, so it's a tougher market. That's why the work you see around is mostly passionate and quality. So great insight here and perspective from Limbo, who we recently had on the Spaces and is a comic artist based in northern Italy. Super interesting. Now, we looked at this last time, this work by Sabato, and of course I follow Sabato. That is a glitch on X when you load up, 150 tabs like I do. Starting today, you can mint a free edition of Dressing Room. So I think I missed this last time. So let me just show you. So this work here, you can mint for free. And I brought up, you got to go to Sabato's feed. But here you go, Museum of the Moving Image. And then you're like, where do I mint it though? Here, mint Sabato Visconti's open edition. So then you got to press this. And then it takes you to a QR code. Okay, so that's how you do it. It took me a while to figure it out. So yeah, let's continue here. This headline, the Financial Times, this was actually from a tweet from Alain Servet, my kind of guilty pleasure, secret kind of Twitter account that I love to follow. Very interesting guy who doesn't get nearly the amount of attention that he deserves, considering I'd say his excellent, editorial kind of perspective. He deserves far more attention, but for me, it's wonderful to have him as a source on X. The Centre Pompidou prepares for a controversial revamp. 5-year overhaul of the cultural complex will open up a new subterranean space, but is arousing heated debate. So many of you will know the Centre Pompidou. This is like, and for those that don't, it is basically the Museum of Modern Art in Paris, right? It's like their main kind of contemporary modern art museum where you'll see works, I wouldn't even say, yeah, I'd say works from the last 150 years. Let's call it that. You know, Francis Bacon, you name it. And really well curated, by the way. And it's quite interesting. Like, I don't even remember actually last time I was in Paris. I want to say it was like 3 or 4 years ago, maybe 5. I'm sure I went to Pompidou and I remember being very impressed. And I was also at the National Art Museum, I think it's called, or Modern Art Museum in Rome, where there was an outstanding curation. And the reason I'm bringing this up is each kind of country, like in a sense, you know, you feel a very kind of French curation when you're at the Pompidou. You feel a very Italian curation in Rome. It's quite interesting. Like, I mean, so again, there's nothing like showing up in person. As much as I love the convenience of digital, it is still important to expose yourself to what other people are doing and what the contemporary art world is doing. Now, so it's controversial they're redoing this. What I wanted to highlight, though, here, and I thought I had it highlighted, it's basically this. Let me just. Yeah, okay. So Pompidou, the real headline here is go to Pompidou while you can because it's about to close for 5 years. So I'm just kind of doing a little, PSA here, public service announcement. They're going to close Centre Pompidou for 5 years. So with funding as yet incomplete, and artists and cultural figures have expressed outrage at plans to close Pompidou for 5 years during renovations. I think that's like, to me, it's not a big deal, but what do people need 5 years for renovations for? Like, they're closing the Pergamon here until like 2034 or 2037. Like, it's getting ridiculous out here, I would argue, with these renovations for, so it's just kind of funny. So anyways, I just think it's kind of interesting. Go to Pompidou while you can. An excuse to go to Paris is what that segment is called. Demon Ego. Look at how beautiful this is. Let me go to the start because look at this, it's very rare. This is actually what really turned my head was the cover of the sketchbook. This orange paper and this minimal Demon Ego with this kind of half drawing and then like kind of mix of drawing and printing. Again, we're going through several mediums here, traveling through the mediums. Look at how nice the sketchbook is. Look at how accomplished this is. Just very beautiful work here. I mean, and not a dud in sight, just pretty cool. So consistent and, it clearly has, a process and a style that is consistent at work. I was saying, like, it's not the time that you put in the work. Here, there's clearly, you can see the time that went up until the work was made. That's what's really obvious here, because you can see it in the consistency, and it just keeps going. Like, I actually have to speed up here, right? I mean, it's pretty incredible. Like, and look, even I quite like this too. Nice touch, the end, with another of my sketch collage books. 57,000 views, 200 retweets. It's still good to be on X, isn't it? Zozo, GM, it's paperwork time. So, of course, we were talking about Zozo. People love the work, Plant Computer. Here's Zozo working physically. So how fun is that? It's paperwork time. So again, it's always worth it for artists to work in different mediums. It gives the sense of more of a range. I mean, sometimes you hear the term NFT artist. You probably just want to be an artist, right? That makes NFTs and digital art, or whatever they call them, right? Ordinals or whatever. So another just reason, it's good to go across mediums. And, I've told this story like 3 or 4 times already during the show, but, like I remember having a show and then a friend of mine who worked at a prestigious gallery, Esther Schipper, was his name? Tom. This is like 6 years ago, I want to say, at a show in Berlin at the factory workspace here when it was in Prince Lauerberg. I think there's still that building's still there, and I think they're still there actually. They have another one in Kreuzberg, but he went through the show. He's like, there were a couple of works that I really liked there, but have you ever thought about making a sculpture? I think it would be good for you just from a PR perspective, it'll give you the sense of, intellectual heft. And as a digital artist, you might think of making physical works because it gives a sense of basically credibility, right? So it helps. You don't need to, but it helps. So let's continue here. Here's Luciana Guerra. Yesterday signing some prints at the gallery in Uruguay. So maybe this is down the street from NFT Uruguay. Here is Luciana Guerra, and look at this. Signing prints, making works physical. Even if you're just printing them out. And there's a million decisions. Once you go through that process, you're going to see, what kind of papers do I use? What size should it be? Do I need to worry about framing? Right? All of these things. Where am I printing this thing? And there's kind of like, you're starting with zero experience if you've never done this. And, you have to learn. There's a process of learning. First, you start with your home little, normal consumer product printer. And then you go, okay, that's maybe not as convincing. Then you go to the printer and you pay a fortune like I did. And then, okay. And then you find another place that's cheaper, the Artist Run Center. And then you use them. And then, okay, that's pretty good, but maybe I'll get a really big printer at home. That was my journey. Right. And that's an important journey to have if you're in it for the long haul as far as being an artist. Like, you should know how to, make physical editions of your work because there's a market for it, as long as your work kind of works along those lines. And just a final point on this. I have a friend who's a photographer who I've been talking about here, trying to convince to get on the blockchain. And when I'm back from Spain, he's like, yeah, I'm ready. So we're going to do that. My good friend Bob Roberto, and he's recently sold a work to an artist, a photo. She loved the work. She's doing really well, and she bought the work. And I was talking to him. I was like, you might want to consider framing it. And I don't know where I had just read that, but if you frame it, he's like, I never thought of that. And it's like the work only sold for 50 euros. Not bad for a little photograph, but it sold for 50 euros. But I'm like, if you frame it, she'll just put it on the wall. And then everybody who goes to her studio, she's a prominent artist, will go, what's that? Right? So all of these, you've got to be incredibly entrepreneurial in this business because it's basically, you have to drum up your own business. As a result, physical, you really have to take seriously, I would argue. And little things like, maybe you should frame your photograph and maybe that costs you 30 euros and you only make 20 euros on the work and basically make nothing on the work. But then you have, free advertising for the next, 3 years potentially in this artist's studio, right? So it's just interesting, and so much is social proof. Okay, let's continue. Clara Mayonnaise. Now I can use the Zora app. I'm so happy. So I haven't loaded this up yet. I'm not sure I've seen it yet. How cool is that, though? Zora continues to, if there's one consistent trait and quality of Zora, is this continued innovation. I feel like they could communicate slightly better on what this is. Maybe they've put out tweets, and maybe it's my fault, and I just haven't seen them. But I feel like I think they should put out reminder tweets of, what exactly is this, and this app in action. But all very cool. And I assume it's available online. Kiro, so picking up Spiegel's Maskinen. Kiro, the great collector. Huge collector. Great artist, but what a collector, too. Dial Up Red by Spiegel's Maskinen, and here it is. Very cool. What a collection DJ Kiro has been accumulating. Let me just actually pause that GIF. Matthias La Plata. So we haven't seen too much from Matthias recently, at least I haven't, and here's Matthias working physically. Of course, put out those brilliant, edgy works on Object. If you don't know them, well worth looking at if you're a collector there on Object. Brilliant, very fun and cool and collectible digital art. Well, here's some physical art. by Matthias LaPlata, $800 shipping not included, 100 by 80 acrylic piece. Soon available on my new website. Find me on Instagram to see the process. So very, very, very cool. Great to see Matthias LaPlata. And here's Machine. We have a few topical works here. We have Machine doing this kind of iconic image here of, doing, interestingly, just a red and white. It's almost like just put out the underpainting, put it out very fast, like within, I want to say, 48 hours of this image of Putin and Kim Jong-un with money in his hand, edited, interestingly, a little bit of commentary there from Machine, putting this out within, again, what feels like 48 hours of that, and selling it, by the way, of that image coming out. See the interesting distortions here and everything, really well put together. So beautiful work from Machine. Interesting choice to keep it 2 colors. Looks great. I'm pretty sure it sold, as memory serves. And of course, so many people being inspired by this airbrush style. Machine, of course, from It's Not Gallery, right, which we've seen like dozens of works from that we've looked at their Instagram in the past. I'm sure we'll see more in the future. Machine was very much inspired by what she saw at It's Not Gallery. Here's Martin Bruce being inspired by the airbrush technique. So putting out these cat works here, I think pretty nice. I mean, Martin Bruce is just such an interesting artist. We have another one too, with a cat coming out of a saxophone and everything. Like just a very, I want to say thoughtful artist, but very visually thoughtful artist. Just thinks with his eyes. He thinks with his eyes. So just really interesting to watch Martin Bruce explore this medium. Now, I feel like maybe we've seen this before. I don't remember, though, and it was such a beautiful piece. And it just shows, this is also by Martin Bruce, just shows the power of Martin Bruce's technique. Like, I mean, it's beautiful. We're kind of back to what I was mentioning earlier. Doesn't make sense, quote unquote, like it's irrational, but it's beautiful. So what do we do with it? Again, what is this? And the only real kind of answer I have for you is art, right? It's irrational and beautiful. It's art. So really just beautiful work here. I have a feeling it's an older work, but I'm not positive, and I don't mind going to older works once in a while. Here's another one, Martin Bruce, one of one pre-kinder. Now, like pre-kindergarten, and for those, work on your German here. So kinder means kids. Kinder surprise, kids surprise, kindergarten. German word. One of one pre-kinder will be featured in the show Infantilism 3.0, organized by Acumparts and curated by Pixel Lord. So very cool. So Pixel Lord and Shendrick NFT. So cool, cool show being put together here, 24th to the 28th of June. In New York, 12 p.m., New York City. Stay tuned, Acumparts. And again, now, what I love about Martin Bruce is, again, it's not easy to be irrational. And here, because I've asked Martin Bruce on the space, and that was a brilliant space. It's available in the feed if you go far enough or you search for it. I asked if he takes pictures of the screen every so often. And he's like, and it was almost like, of course, of course I do. Of his computer screen, like he's constantly going back and forth, traveling through the mediums, which I'd argue is one of the main, themes. That's kind of what I would argue is kind of where contemporary art is. I would argue. Feel free to disagree. But I would argue that's kind of where we are from a process point of view. Otherwise, where do we go? I don't know where we go otherwise. Basically, we have a new digital medium. We have photography from 130 years ago, and now it's sort of like we have AI, right? So now it's kind of about how are these mediums relating together. And as I always, again, something I've shown like Warhol, Goethe, something I've shown a few times here, but it's worth re-looking at here. I'll never forget seeing this in one of these versions in Frankfurt at their museum there. And what you have, this was huge, by the way, or a version of this was huge. Maybe I'll put Frankfurt just to get the version. It's beautiful, beautiful, that version. They still have a few different versions. Not the Flügel, but let's just quickly go here. The Städel, I think it was this one. Okay, so let me just open image in new tab. Let's go with this. Alle akzeptieren. So not great resolution here, but what I want to show, so this is huge, right? And so what do we have here? We have, and you can't see it brilliantly, maybe we have another version. Here we go. This is better. So this is a big painting, right? So what do we have here? We have a photograph of Goethe, and that has been screen printed, traveling through the mediums and oh, by the way, we took that photograph, which is probably this big, maybe Warhol took it out of a book. Think Martin Bruce here, taking a picture of his screen, and maybe scanning it in somehow. I don't even know if they had scanners back then in the 80s. This is late 80s, late Warhol, some of my favorite Warhol work. So blowing it up, and then, or maybe before blowing it up, doing this, putting this kind of chalk, before blowing it up, one would think, doing this kind of chalk outline, right? Then blowing it up, and then all of a sudden you're getting the pencil mark or the chalk or the kind of crayon, right? This pastel. All of a sudden you're getting a different texture when you make that large. When you turn that kind of texture and you make it large, it becomes a different thing. And like from a visual perspective, it changes. I call it the alchemy of scale. So all of a sudden it's made large. And then also, so what do you have here? You have photography. You also have painting, and then it's screen printed over top, right? The colors here. So you have kind of painting or screen printing, and then screen printing on top of that, these marks. These marks are made, photographed, and then expanded on the screen using the screen printing process, and then screen printed. So you're screen printing this charcoaly, texture here at on a larger scale. This is what I'm talking about here. As far as traveling through the mediums, and as far as where so this is the late Warhol. You also see it in the late Richard Prince, and Richard Prince is still alive, but you see this traveling through the mediums, right? These are I'd argue, some of the best artists of the last 50 years. So where does that leave us in terms of the contemporary art conversation, and where are we in terms from a process point of view on what matters? Where is this all going? Should we be looking at this as a kind of narrative? So, food for thought. That is my take on it, which is why, say, for my own work, that's kind of a big concern. And when I see works like this, I go, how cool is that? And Martin Bruce in good form is what I say to myself, right? So very cool work there. Edgy decisions. I mean, and speaking of edge here, look at these wild edges. Just incredibly cool work here from Martin Bruce. Yes, let's continue here. Let's just make this larger. Hasdrubal, Kujib, had some riddles. Now, weirdly, I couldn't load up any more. We'll see if it reappeared here. But some cool works appeared here on Twitter. I don't know if they ever got minted anywhere. But this account doesn't exist, so I don't know. I think I just bookmarked this one, or maybe it was, deleted in between. I don't know what's going on here. Why I can see this right now, but this came out also maybe, when was this? June 20th. So about a week and a half ago. So we're still doing a little bit of catch up here, but some cool Hasdrubal waffles, also known as Kujeb, doing some riddles here. And Kujeb always kind of alternating accounts, changing things around. Here's Murkit NFT, new profile pic, Cyberdemonia. So again, here's Murkit. Again, kind of, what do we see here? We see illustration, right? This would typically be some sort of anime, right, manga illustration, but it's been pixelated. It's been kind of processed, right? We're traveling through the mediums here. Right? This isn't a line drawing. These are some sort of weird distorted pixels with even a little bit of user interface over here, seemingly. Here's another one, right? So very interesting. And visually, very, very interesting. It works on a beauty level too, like this kind of process, as we see with the Warhol. The real kind of what seals the deal is it's actually beautiful impact, right? So look at these great, layering effects could be seen as a digital inside the digital kind of, medium is a way of also kind of traveling through different kind of renderings. Right? And look at this. Hilarious. Beautiful. Just beautiful. Here we go again. Interestingly, Sabato. Look at this. Created Annunciation hilariously, right? Nice and kind of nice historical reference there. Art historical reference. Created in Deluxe Paint 4 on an emulated Amiga 1200 computer using an image generated with Midjourney 5. So what do we have here? We have an image generated with Midjourney 5, but treated with retro tools or vintage software. And look at this, fear not, for thou hast, and I love how it's almost unreadable. Thou hast found, something God, right? And here is this like pixelated, so nice move. Right? Again, traveling through different kind of tools, exporting. I think Sky Goodman, right? O Lord of Vengeance, shine forth, right? And then this ambiguous image, right? But then with this wonderful pixelation, right? Look at this beautiful pixels here behind shine and also there. Really nice kind of scale. Nice size of pixels, 735 by 566. Right, all you pixel artists out there, American Psalm. Also, Deluxe Paint 4 on an emulated Amiga 1200 using an image generated from Midjourney. Very, very interesting. Edition of 33, this looks sold out. So, Sabato on a roll here. This also looks sold out. It's 16, edition of 16. I mean, pretty awesome. Now, I think I picked this up. I did. Plant Time, so managed to get a Zozo here. Now that I'm back home, I'm loading up Object a lot more. The notifications, by the way, on Object do not work for me. I've tried Kukai, Temple. There's an issue with notifications, I think, on Object. They work. You get the first 50. After that, it just kind of cycles. It could just be me. Look at how beautiful this is. Plant Time. 1 of 1. Time to bloom. So I had some Tez from a previous sale, so managed to pick that up. 25 Tez. Awesome. Artist spine from artists. Look at these great, when you freeze it too. Just these great moments here. Just beautiful. So that's Wozo. Let's continue as we hit the 52-minute mark. Insanely. Some beautiful works by Nuv1914. Look at that one. Saw that retweeted in Hasdrubal's feed there. I missed that one. Look at how beautiful. This is the teddy bears, the wild kind of star gradients, and everything, the palm trees, the color. And this, these kind of almost metallic colors here. Triangle en el agua, triangle in the water maybe? 15 Tezos. Edition of 1. I managed to get this one. Hilariously, I was watching the Germany game. Can't remember who they were playing. Denmark. Yes, it's been a weird Euro Cup, let's put it that way. It feels like, so many last-second goals. We saw it last night as well. Anyway, here's Football 1, edition of 1. Really just love the net, because the temptation would be to continue putting the landscape. Of course, you'd put the landscape behind the net, but no, and it's much more powerful, I find, just putting this kind of white with a mild gradient there. For the net. Just beautiful work. I was thrilled to pick that up. Did it from my phone. So just awesome. 20 Tez. And here, Matrimonio, also from Nuv1914, also picked this one up. Just beautiful work. Kind of reminds me of like that 15th, 16th century early oil paintings. Just a beautiful composition. Love this kind of windows in the background. I think that's what ultimately sold me on this, was it's just beautiful. Contrasting structures here, and also just the subject matter, and of course the execution from top to bottom. So someone proposing here, just beautiful. Beautiful color. Trippy Collector commissioning a few also from Nov 1914, a triptych. And here, here you see the fiesta. So it starts here, the bar party, and then people are dancing here. And then the cleanup afterwards, and the person who maybe has had a little too much to drink there. Beautifully executed commission and great topic. A triptych. How cool is that? Nov 1914 triptych. Here's Bazaya, who of course I follow. And let's see what this says. I dreamed that I hit like Mr. McGill. So not sure on the reference here. Sometimes there are no references. Sometimes they are people that I don't know about. Cool cloud wallpaper. Just a nice cool painting by Bazaya. Look at the shoes. And I think these are mostly, if not all of them, made on his phone. Amazingly. These beautiful paintings. Here, of course, referring to the debate from last week in the U.S., breaking news from Uxine. And so here we have our two candidates. Can you tell who is who? Hard to say. And maybe you're not supposed to know breaking news. We are doomed. And they're the puppets here. And nice kind of outline and everything here, not needing to finish it all in. And interesting, almost Bacon-esque faces here. You know, very, very cool. Nice solution. Because what are you going to do? Are you going to put the actual candidates? Do you do just two candidates? It's kind of more powerful, I think, anonymous, making them anonymous like this. And it's also maybe easier just when you're working, maybe visually better, right? Like interesting, nice solution here. I'd say from Uxine, breaking news, selling out at 69 Tezos. The market is still alive, right? As you can see here. It is a trickier market, but the market is still quite alive here. Uxine sketch, of course, I follow Uxine, and just beautiful. So really liking this painterly digital artwork by Uxine here, and kind of a hooded figure with a candle and what looks like a computer screen. So at work in the studio there, and these are hilarious too, just kind of fun. The happy and sad Amazon. I thought that was quite brilliant, and what's funny is the really nicely applied, just these drips here. Quite well done, actually. Very nice piece here. Nice physical. This is artwork. You know, like this is, that could be sold. Really nice piece there from Uxine. Nice appropriation. Requiem de Lanwes, Fiesta Edition Nadi Feliz. And so just an interesting painting. I'm not sure if I've ever seen this artist before. Interesting, almost distortion there. Kind of looks like just, is it a physical painting? I think it's a digital, but maybe it's physical. Hard to say. Isn't that interesting within the context of our discussion? Maybe it's physical. Pretty impressive, actually, for physical. If that's what it is, maybe we got a clue here. Really nice painting, isn't it? I think this is physical. If I had to wager, I would say physical, and no details on that. Edition of 5 for 6 Tezos. Interesting artist. This was also interesting, Nearbound. Love the subject matter of these turntables here. The person, kind of a looser style in the background here. Interesting kind of perspective. Playing the turntables, these digital looking turntables. Beautiful work here. 127,000 views. Nice work. Blues Rhythm by Nearbound. Very cool. And here, just a cool sketch. Fatih Ozturk, who perhaps I follow. XP 2001. And as you see here, love the subject matter. Just again, drawing what's on the screen. Turn off computer, doing it in their own style. Windows XP, not the new Windows. XP 2001, cool artwork. Here's Quampa. Liner Transversion, cool title, MS Paint 2024. And so here we are again with Quampa and one of these epic works here from Microsoft Paint. Almost 3,700, 3,800 by 1,500 pixels here. So that's at 50% on their screen. 16 megabytes, huge file. Very, very interesting digital painting. I believe out of Indonesia, if I'm not mistaken. Here's Santiago Ruao. Very nice piece. Worms. Santiago Ruao on 12 minted so far on Zora. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Very interesting, kind of minimal abstract. Burka Bayram goal celebration. So perhaps celebrating the Euro Cup as well as the Copa de America, I think it's called. And so, nice piece, goal celebration. After listening to recent spaces, I see animation in a completely new Rural Idol. It was talking about animation and just how when Rural Idol, who is an animator, comes out of animation, when they saw Burkham Byram's work, they saw, oh, animation can be poetry, if I had to kind of paraphrase the conversation. I found it inspiring, so here is a great example of that. Beautiful. Very interesting. Super edgy work here. PG, viewer discretion advised. Slave whose diary is read. Turkarak, a super edgy work here. Slave whose diary is read. I just thought this was super edgy and pretty interesting. Even the camera work. We're almost back to the director here. Edition of 1, selling out for 31 Tezos. Always kind of provocative and interesting. Mumble Boy, Natural History, great title from Mumble Boy. Edition of 1 for 12 Tezos here. Again, combining collage, digital imagery. Again, what's almost like one of the big common themes here that we're seeing. You see this looks like digital, but with photography. Again, we're traveling through the mediums here or mixing mediums, however you want to put it. 12 Tezos. Very effective, very powerful, very contemporary. Here is Cider. Look at this. Sold for 69.69 ETH. I mean, that's almost 0.7. And, you look at 3,000, it's at least it's like probably $2,200, $2,300. Nice work. And as you see here, so almost looking completely abstract, but then you see ATH here, all-time high. So beautiful. Beautifully textured, I want to call canvas by Cider here. Great sale. Kind of semi-abstract because there's a little face, right? But super distorted in a beautiful way, painterly. Beautiful. Here's another one by Cider. Let's see. Money. So almost like a complimentary piece here. And here's $100 as you see here. And you see all of the wonderful transform, distortion network, and maybe even some bars that have been transformed like beautifully, and the texture and everything. Quite brilliant from Cider. Shaken Rug, collage of AI outputs. Starting to see a theme here. Santiago. And what's funny? Like, I didn't plan this show at all in terms of this whole theme. But visually I planned it. Like, I'm like, okay, this goes with this. But you're seeing now here it's collage and AI, right? And look at how powerful this is when you combine, different kind of processes and techniques. Very interesting AI artwork from Santiago. Here's another one. This is Forever. Collage of AI outputs, 1 of 1. How much did this sell for? 50 Tezos at auction. Nice work. Look at this great crop here too. Over here, right? As you see the edge? Very powerful. Very, very powerful. And again, kind of abstract, kind of, how are we doing? Hour or two. Yeah, we're going to speed up a little bit here. Just beautiful work here from Santiago. Here is Braun. I don't think we've looked at this one because I feel like I would have remembered going over the edge like this. I'm kind of back to the margin. The margin is really what's kind of dazzling me here. Beautiful work here as ever from Braun, Army of US, but this edgy, breaking the margin here, breaking the square, incredibly powerful. And we're back to the, irrational. It doesn't make sense, on a surface level other than it's beautiful, right? And so we're kind of back to a very early discussion. Army of US, interesting title. We're back to a very early interesting discussion. This idea of art as knowledge. What if it's a kind of irrational knowledge is really the question. Do we learn something? And I think we do, right? And is whatever we learn from this irrational, beauty, what are we learning? It seems like we're refining our aesthetic, understanding. Where that takes us, I guess we'll find out in future shows, but just kind of interesting. Anis Abdon. Today marks half of the year I completed 182 fully animated pixel artworks for my everydays. So working every day here. Anis Abdon, 182 works. There is a credibility in prolificness. So very impressive. Unfinished pixel art, 4 colors. So still working on this piece here. Big congrats to Anis Abdon. Also had a great space there. On maybe few months ago, 3 months ago. Manadil and P1, the collab continues. Very cute, beautiful, beautiful color as usual. Great composition. Looks like almost like a photograph Polaroid. Also very printable. Like this would look great in a frame. You almost see it in the frame with that white margin. Again, interesting decision with the margin here. Brilliant pixel artists here, and this is only 212 by 164, right? So you see the size of the pixels here. Very interesting. Almost looks like, is this a JPEG? Usually you'd go with PNG or GIF. Interestingly, this is, it's audio, VND. Okay, that's probably the audio. Not exactly sure, just finally here. Not sure if this is JPEG, GIF, or PNG. Generally, you'd go with PNG or GIF. I think this is probably a PNG. Beautiful work here by P1 and Manadil. As ever, here's another one, Zoxo. Zozo, a different, not Zwozo, but Zoxo, 3310. Interesting, kind of old cell phones, kind of on fire. Beautiful, open edition, and 3310 for only 22 Tezos cents, only 2 minted. And this is good for another 11 hours. So you might get a very low edition there, Zoxo, for very cheap. Renato. This was posted on X, getting kind of a lot of love there. It looks like a server farm with the main server in the middle that is working and kind of has shiny, flickering blood coming out of the machine here, kind of leaking. Interestingly, an interesting box there too. Renato Marini. Here is Argyle. And I do need to speed up this show just so the computer does not crash. So Argyle putting out work. This is on Zora on a superchief.props.app. So I think Superchief has their own kind of, okay, so this is something, so you go through and there is another, so Dysphoria. They have their own platform, I think, on Zora, if I'm not mistaken. But a Maximize would be awesome. Maybe we can do this. There we go. Just open image in new tab. So just kind of a fun work here from Argyle. Kind of wild. Again, the irrationality, right? So very cool pixel art work, animated GIF from Argyle. Here's Captain. In the art market, or Figments, aka Captain, also known as Captain Familiar Pass. Let's see what we can see. So here, kind of a nice, look at these squares, look at this tree at night, right? Gets a very interesting light here. It's almost like the moon is lighting this up, but it's also just the video game light, the light of the screen lighting up the space here. Here's a dog, it's a little heart, and maybe the owner. RGB right over here. And then another dog maybe with chasing a little firefly, and then whatever's going on over here. Interesting work from Cap'n. As ever, edition of 16 selling out, right? 8 Tezos, that went for sale June 21st. So still a market out there. Here's some very cool screenshots, I guess, from mech.txt. B = B-U-B. Of course, I follow mech. That is a glitch. Look at this. So very cool. Love the kind of almost the monotones here, where it's like almost just a couple of 2 or 3 blues or purples, 2 or 3 greens, and a black. Very nice. Very interesting. We have another one. Hills that our ancestors died on. So yeah, just beautiful. I don't know why mech doesn't make more of these things or mint more of these things. They're incredibly beautiful. These kind of almost Greek mythology meets Greek Arcadia. Arcadia meets Ultima 4. Ultima 4 kind of has a bit of an Arcadia vibe to it too. Of course, at a different ratio than the Ultima 4 tiles. Let's continue. Fornex Void, Ocean Waves, edition of 1. How cool is that? How collectible is that? A 1 of 1 Fornex Void. So very cool here. Nice piece, and 23 Tezos. And let's speed up a bit. Objects and subjects. So cool, kind of cryptic title from Element Lee. Got how many colors here? About 4 or 5 colors, interestingly. 256 by 256. And this is interesting too. I wanted to show this. We saw this image on the screen. The folding screen is a subtle extension of the 2D image. I also folded the image itself, turning the long scroll painting into a looping form. So somehow, everything starts with a single pixel elementary particle, then the microscopic world, the insect, and the animal world. So it starts with a pixel, insect and animal world, then the mountains, maybe are here, and rivers, and plants, and the planets. Where are the planets? Maybe the planets in the sky, and mountains and rivers, the planets, and finally the entire universe. So there's the sky. So anyways, it seems like the direction of narrative here is over here. Again, looking like simultaneous narrative, a technique you'd find in the Renaissance, where you put multiple comic book kind of frames, but without the frames. All right, it's all in one kind of giant frame. Interesting narrative here from Element Lee. Also another beautiful minimal work here. Pinewind Blade. It can be difficult to be this minimal. Element Lee is very good at that. Pinewind Blade, just beautiful work from Element Lee. Here is Stippen Pixel, also a great kind of minimal pixel artist here. Just posting this on X. Here you see a kid on a swing set and a cat on top. Beautiful animation. Very early to Zora. And really embracing that platform. I don't see a link, so I wasn't sure if it was minted anywhere. These were really interesting too. Titan, I am sure a lot of you saw that. I think Zora and Base, very interesting artist here. Continuing on, Françoise Gamma with another no-ROM work. So very abstract. I love Françoise Gamma's glitch ROMs because they're so minimal and so kind of abstract and really has their own style. Here. So that is cool. That's 3 Tezos, Haiti Rocket picking one, Kurt Hustle Collective. Very nice collector base there. Edition of 30, 3 Tezos. And speaking of Haiti Rocket, Family Computer. Look at these beautiful artworks here. Invader by, kind of looks like Japanese writing maybe. Glitched out beautifully. Awesome color. Haiti Rocket. Just beautiful work here. And Disk System, this also was released. Edgier work here. And so new glitch ROMs from Haiti Rocket. Let's go full screen here. Here we are. Interesting how the text stays static, but everything else moves. Anyway, beautiful, 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 beautiful. Beautiful canvases. Real G's Never Give Up. This is Glitchtown Arcade, playing with the McDonald's theme that we recently saw. And here we have there's Ronald McDonald on the edge, on the precipice, and then also glitched out here. Real G's Never Give Up, that is 99 cents, and 3 minted so far, edition of 30. Really cool one from Lorna Mills, Mi Jesus, and of course the titles all come from Racehorses with Lorna Mills, and just really enjoying this car series from Lorna Mills, and great color, that bright pink, super rad. 700 by 700, animated GIF. 21 frames, 20 Tezos, and how many are left? 11 left, so selling well. Here's Dan Control, another photo. Very interesting. So kind of blurred out a little bit. It looks like some flowers, red in the dark, 2 minted. And so Dan Control keeping things unpredictable and interesting with the photo series on Zora. Here is Renki, Makimuku. So Renki continues with more animated abstractions here. And here you almost see the center is slightly, you see a slight gradient almost in the center flashing. This is Makimuku STA, so just, I think, putting out a work a day also. Here's Andre Oliveira. So here is a work, one of the works, it's from a new series here. So kind of pixel art-esque, animated abstract, pixel art. And there are a whole series. The series is called Explorer, and it's on Zora. You can mint them all. So nice work there. 41 minters so far, so doing quite well. And very cool. And look at these gorgeous, gorgeous works here by Kiro. Looks like it's a collab. Not sure who the collaborator is, but these are very beautiful. If Kuro, if you see this, I'm not sure. Maybe it's hard to put the collaborator. Not sure who it is. The collaborator. It's Kuro. I think it's a collab. This is beautiful. It looks like an interesting kind of almost phone dimensions here. Kind of looks like modern art. We have another one here, like modern abstract art, Kuro RTX 5000. And I think this is just by Kuro, this one. I mean, the great thing about Kuro's style is you can remix. Remember the awesome Francois Gamma works, that whole series? I think Cosmo picked one of those up. So very cool here. I think we have another one, this beautifully minimal work. This is Kuro, owned by Kuro. I think this is by Kuro. Just beautifully minimal video painting, as we like to call them over here. And here's another one. This is a collaboration with MCHX and Jose Gasparian. Let's see if we can get, and no audio on that. So, but very interesting. These very minimal works here. They're quite soothing, aren't they? Quite soothing indeed. And let's continue. Here's another one, composition 223 by Klaus. 223. Nice work. Keeping it new here with different kinds of mark making, one could say, or textures. Kind of a high contrast one. This is an edition of one. Still selling. 21 Tezos. Pretty awesome. It's made probably 5,000 Tezos on that whole series, or maybe just under. Yeah, 21 times 20, 221 times 20. I mean, it's probably like 4,400 Tezos. Not bad at all. Louis Andre Gamma. If they're all sold, I think most of them are sold. Check this out. Let's see if it plays. Very interesting kind of animated abstract here as well. As we hit the 1 hour, 16 minute mark, again, I'm aiming for about 45 minutes to an hour on these shows, just doing a little bit of catch up here. So very cool work. Louis Andre Gamma, that is on Object, edition of 5 for 50 Tezos, listed for 50 Tezos. Originally listed for 5 and now selling for 50 for the final editions. Another interesting way of selling your work is make the earlier editions cheaper and the later editions more expensive. No hygiene. Very interesting piece, one of one on Object. Very radical AI artist here. It's probably all AI, and you see the wings here, almost like an angel, and then these wild kind of crops here, and margin, however you want to put it, negative space, arrow, interesting title too. Here's Lily Illo with a gorgeous painting. AI painting. Let's see if we can make this larger. Look at how beautiful this is. So this is probably raw AI, right? So, I mean, just pretty impressive. Great color and everything. A modern artwork. Here's another one, and you can see the AI in the eye here. Just another beautiful painterly AI artwork here. You even see it here. Wonderful painting, looming blank page. Beautiful, even just the composition. These, with the heads down below, everything, in the bottom half, basically, of the composition. Ruth Allen, this is me trying to stop listening to a conversation and just get in my car. Kind of looks like an AI artwork based on the mild distortions I see here, just on some of the edges. And particularly in the eye, I think we see the AI. Interesting piece, isn't it? From an artist I haven't seen before, Ruth Allen, GM. And here's another one, Lena Eckert, GM. So this also looks like AI, I assume. Kind of has that AI distortions and just AI brush marks, but very powerfully and well done. Right? So again, I'm thinking of Warhol. When I start seeing works like this, a simpler version of this, you could start going, oh, I could screen print certain areas. I could, what other mediums can you use to create these drips? Similar to what we saw with Warhol taking the graphite pencil or the charcoal, blowing it up, rainbow ink through it, right? And off we go. Here's Pablo Radice. Pablo Radice, borders and edges erased and redrawn, a dance with the unknown, unsung in the song. I believe this is a one of one. Our fourth commission comes from OG, so beautiful AI artwork here. Pablo Radice makes their own algorithms, so really nice piece here, original. Here's Little Cakes with an interesting piece. Lazy Morning here. So more interesting AI artwork, interesting hair, almost kind of fuzzy. We have another piece here, and I believe This auction ends in 3.5 hours, so you still may have time. Pink Opium, video dailies, and there is a bid for 0.04, so already the bidding has begun. We can't look at the whole thing, but we can look at a piece. Nice music. Pretty fun. Oh, there's the still. Okay, we're starting to figure it out here. I'm going to speed through just to give you a sense, and you'll have to go online. Go see Little Cakes on X, and you can see the whole work. Very cool. This is part of some kind of show, daily.xyz. I think Cakes just did a space. I'm going to reach out to Cakes soon. Maybe in a month or so, we'll do a space. If Cakes is still up for it. This was super interesting too. Canik Zapata. This is on superchief.props.app. So the space just continues to move forward here. Interestingly, I thought this was a really interesting AI video work. Sometimes it's kind of hard to do these kind of works and make them interesting. I think this is beautiful, amazingly executed here. From Canik Zapata, kind of old school glitch artist doing a ton of AI. The Flame of Adar. Very cool. Creator rank number 86. Interesting. As if in the middle, this is Mo SHIT from January 30th. Maybe we already saw this. It almost looks like Robert Smith from The Cure here. Kells posted this. I thought maybe it was a newer one, but still awesome artwork to look at. I don't think we've seen it before. One of these textured AI artworks by Mo. I wonder how Mo's doing on Twitter. Also is doing phenomenally. Just posting on X. Here is Danielle King, Missed Connection. Again, kind of from this, I want to call it a forgotten memory, or, artificial memory series, I think is what it's called. And there you see the lighting. I suspect a simulated photo is what we'd call this. Pretty sure it's an AI artwork, especially when you look in there. And when you look on the phone and just the hyper reality of the whole situation here. Nice piece by Danielle King. Here is Leprochant. Neuralink Furs Prubus. I don't know if that's Latin or not. Of course, I follow Leprochant there. So the Leprochant's take on Neuralink. So again, once again working with the plaster heads and everything. There's the chip. Interesting piece. Here's Ilya Barbarin. Looking like they are selling works here. They look like they're ready to ship. Very interesting artist as we move into the physicals. Here, you see the sword with the happy faces. Again, that irrationality returns. This is beautiful, too. This is by Gregorio Zanardi. One of ones sold out. I imagine, I don't know if you get the painting with it. It's beautiful. It looks like a physical painting, beautifully executed here. Even the dots here in the grass, the palm trees, the flowers, the water, the mysterious composition. Great painting from Gregorio Zanardi. And, of course, the Great Walk. Look at this. If you ever wondered, look at this. You look up close at all of the spray and the mark making here. So consistent. Time by Walk, part of the Words series. And that is your show, my friends, as we hit the hour 22 mark. Thank you for joining me. Come join us on Wednesday with Retro Manny, and I will be back with videos a week from Wednesday if everything goes according to plan. Until next time, take care.